Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at quite a few new items. We have the new Shantakai Future Skin Foundation. They gifted this to me. I have shades Aura and Alabaster, so we'll take a look at those. I also purchased 5 of the new Danessa Myricks Colorfix Stix, as well as 3 of the new Creole lip glosses. These are called No Further Questions. And Soshi gifted to me 3 of their new blushes. So we're going to take a look at all of these items. And I've been testing all of these out for about 5 days now. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start off with the Shantakai foundation. And as I mentioned, I have shades Aura and Alabaster. So this one's Aura, this one's Alabaster. You can see they look pretty close still. Alabaster is going to be a little bit deeper and a little bit warmer. Along with the new foundation, they also sent their brush. This is the Blend and Smooth brush. So real quickly, I just want to start with this. So you can see here we have an angled round brush, and this is going to have quite a bit of flexibility. All of Shantakai's brushes are synthetic. And the first thing, it reminded me of this brush from Refer. This is the B04. You can see this is basically a very similar shape. This is oval with an angle, and they're going to have a very similar action on the skin. The difference here is that the Refer is just a little bit larger for the most part, but the density and so forth is pretty similar. The other brush it made me think of is the BK Beauty 101. Obviously this is much larger. They might have a smaller version of this now, I don't recall, but you can see we do have a similar action, but I would say that the Refer and the Shantakai, they are just a little bit less dense. So if you look at the BK, you can see, there's not quite as much movement of the bristles. I mean, they're acting more as one, whereas we've got a little bit more airiness with the Shantakai here. You can see it when you actually sweep it, you can see a bit more movement, whereas with this, the density feels a little bit stronger in the BK Beauty compared to the Shantakai or the Refer. So I'd say the Refer B04 is probably the closest out of all of the brushes I have. So let's take a look at the Future Skin, and the packaging is the same as the previous versions. We have a lid. You can see we do have a plastic lid here. It says do not discard. This will help keep your foundation fresh. And this is the shade Aura. So let's go ahead and swatch this. Just kind of blend some out right here, and you can see it really just kind of melts into the skin. So just like the previous version, this is going to be one of those more moussey moisturizer texture foundations. And it really blends in beautifully for a natural look. This is going to be light to medium coverage. This one here is going to be Alabaster. So here's Alabaster here. You can see it's a little deeper here and a bit more yellow. So the Aura is a little bit peachier. We've got a little bit more warmth to the Alabaster. Now in the previous version, I always wore the shade Porcelain. That was my perfect match, and it's actually my perfect match in Shantakai foundations, but they only make it in the Future Skin. They sent me Aura and Alabaster, so I'm not sure how the Porcelain would compare, because I feel like the Porcelain was in the previous version was more close to the Aura. It's kind of a mix of the Aura and the Alabaster, but it's just slightly more neutral than mixing them together. I think the Alabaster is just a little bit stronger. So maybe more of like a 75 Aura, 25% Alabaster mix. So as you're taking a look at the demos here, let's talk a little bit about the product. The foundation retails for $95 US. We have 30 grams or 1 ounce of product. There's a 1-year shelf life, and it's made in Japan. And there are 21 shades available in this foundation. This is the Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation. And while looking at the shades, it does mention that Porcelain is fair with warm golden undertones. And I have to say, in the old version, the Porcelain was much more neutral than the Alabaster. The Alabaster here is described as having fair with balanced neutral undertones. So I'm not sure if they changed up the color names. So, definitely check things out in person if possible, or you know, see if you can find swatches of porcelain if that was your shade before. In the photos, the porcelain still looks cooler than the alabaster, so it's a little confusing to me. According to Shantakai, it says, an iconic formula elevated to new heights. The best-selling oil-free gel foundation known for its fresh, natural finish and botanical skincare benefits now boasts an even more benefit-driven formula. Infused with a plant-based retinol alternative, hydrating spirulina polyriza extract, and soothing chaga mushroom extract, it leaves skin looking flawless and fresh. This foundation is recommended to be applied with their brush or fingertips, and this is something that's very easily layered. It's a very sheer foundation with one layer. You can build this up. I'd say you get more of a lighter end of the medium spectrum when you build that up. It can be worn alone, or they also recommend mixing it with a drop of their liquid Lumiere or Rose de My face oil for a sheer radiant glow. Now, on its own, I feel like we do have a nice hydrating, dewy complexion from this. It's not greasy. It looks very natural. You know, this is actually more like the combination between a medium coverage foundation and a skin tint, kind of mixed with, you know, that moisturizer type benefits. So it's got more of that moussey, airy texture. I think it gives a really beautiful natural look, and I feel like I can build the coverage up on this new version slightly more easily than I could with the previous version. I felt like that took more layers to get to the same point. So I do feel like this has slightly more coverage than the previous version. Texturally on the skin, it feels the same. This is something that you can definitely apply a powder for more of a matte look, but if you leave it alone, it's fresh and dewy, and it lasts all day. I have to admit, I had decided not to purchase this foundation myself just because the retinol alternative, I don't like the idea of adding all of those things into my makeup. I prefer having my skincare separate for the most part, so I know exactly what I'm using and when I'm using it. I don't necessarily want to mix certain things. So the retinol alternative to me is not really a positive feature. I'd prefer it not to be included in here. However, I have not noticed any adverse effects or, you know, any real major difference from using this, you know, in either a pro or a con sense. So just something to note. Aside from the inclusion of the retinol alternative, which for me is more of a personal issue, and that might be a major pro for many people, aside from that, I feel like this is a better version to the previous version of the Future Skin Foundation. We are able to build up the coverage a little bit more easily, and I feel like it lasts a bit longer on the skin. It doesn't really break up during those hot, humid days. I've been testing this outside by the pool while my kids are swimming, and, you know, I really had no breakage on my face, which was pretty impressive. I've worn this with primers, without, and I think it holds up really well. So I do think that this is a better version of the previous one. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried this. Now let's take a look at just those swatches one more time and see the level of oxidation. All right, so we've got Aura. So let's put the Aura right here. So you can see there's not going to be a major difference between a fresh swatch and an older swatch. It gets a little bit peachier, but I would say that they're still pretty much the same. Here is the Alabaster. Again, they're going to be pretty similar. It gets a little bit peachier as it dries, but they're still going to be pretty close. So neither of these shades have much oxidation. Let's just take a look at a couple of other foundation shades in case you're trying to color match. I'm gonna start off with the Prada and LC5. And let me just put some on my finger here. So here's LC5. And you can see it's gonna be significantly more ivory than Aura or Alabaster, which are more peachy. This here is the Cle de Peau Radiant Natural Foundation in shade I-10. And this is my go-to shade from Cle de Peau. And again, you can see this is going to be more neutral. It's more of an ivory beige. And this is the Dior Forever Hydra Nude in 0N. And I'm going to put this one right here. And this one is going to be a bit lighter than these, and I'd say it's definitely the most ivory shade of the ones that I've swatched here. And last up, we have the Chanel number 1, the Chanel foundation in BD01. We're going to put this one horizontally here. You can see that it's going to be closest to the Dior in 0N. So overall, out of all of these foundations, you can see the Aura and the Alabaster are definitely much peachier than my typical shades. So one more time, just a look at these foundations. We have Shantakai in Aura, Alabaster. This is Dior Forever Hydra Nude in 0N, Prada LC5. This is Cle de Peau Radiant Natural in I10, and this is the Chanel number 1 de Chanel in BD01. So I hope that's helpful. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Soshi blushes. Soshi was kind enough to send me 3 of their new blushes, and just a quick overview of the packaging. We do have plastic clip close packaging, and you can see that you can punch this out here and it is refillable. I don't currently see refills available. You just kind of snap that into place. So these are a cream to powder blush. This first one here is Rosy Rest, and I actually really like applying these with a finger and then using a brush to kind of blend it out. But for the cheek swatches, I used a brush the whole way through. So it's definitely not creamy enough that you have to worry about what type of brush to use with this. It really feels, you know, it doesn't have a ton of moisture to it. So it's a very silky, smooth cream texture to it, but it has more of that velvety finish. So this is Rosy Rest, and you can see that this is going to be a warm rose to it. There is a touch of terracotta in this. And then we have Speak Easy. And I would have to say all of these look deeper in the pan than they do once you blend these out. This is described as a dusty rose. And I'd say that's a pretty apt description, but typically when I think of dusty rose, I think of things that are a little bit lighter in color. So this is like a deep dusty rose. And I think it's a really pretty shade. Again, this one's going to be neutral. There's a little bit more of a, you know, the rose in here is still a little bit warmer. So neutral leaning warm. And then the coolest tone shade is called Berry Smitten. And this is what I'm wearing today. And this is going to be a deep berry shade here. Think cranberry mixed with raspberry. And we've got a little bit of plum in there as well. So we've got Rosy Rest, Speak Easy, and Berry Smitten. And you can see how easy that formula is to use. Let's take a look at these on the cheeks. And I've been wearing these for several days. I've applied them in different ways. As I mentioned, my favorite way is to dab it on first with a fingertip and then kind of buff it in. Or I like to put a swatch on my hand, kind of work it into the bristles, and then kind of pounce that onto the skin. So I don't have that version in a demo, but I think that gives a really nice soft, lush look. So in the cheek swatches, I did use the Refer 05 brush, and you could see it's easy to sweep on, easy to build up the colors. And then for today's look, I used a Kyoto 3D shape brush, but in the first time I wore these, I used a fingertip application followed by a brush. Now, just a few details about these blushes. They have a 1-year shelf life. They retail for $28 US, and these are made in Italy. And it says that they are plastic negative. It's a certified plastic negative product. According to Soshi, this is a feather-light cushiony blush that melts on like a cream, blurs like a powder, and leaves a soft lip finish, infused with skin-loving ingredients for all-day comfort. And I have to say, it really gives you this soft, blurred velvet finish to the skin. It reminds me of the finish you get from the new Bobbi Brown Velvet Matte blushes, or the new Sisley liquid blush, the Cloud blushes. So I feel like on the skin, you get a very similar finish look from those 3 products. A little more information from Soshi. These are infused with skin-loving ingredients like squalane, cucumber seed extract, and so forth. And they do ensure a seamless, comfortable wear all day long. I can attest to that. These do stay put all day, and I don't notice any significant fading, even with the heat and humidity. It says the unique putty-like texture is soft to the touch, weightless on the cheeks, and designed to move with your skin, not sit on top of it. Build it up or keep it sheer. This formula flexes with your mood and your makeup. And I think the description is pretty accurate. With some of the deeper shades, shearing it out, I would recommend definitely kind of sharing it out on your hand or a palette or something first versus trying to shear it out on your skin with those deeper shades, just because, you know, sometimes the deeper shades you could end up with like pigment patches and so forth. And that's true for any deeply pigmented product. So it does go on very nicely in a sheer application, but in that case, I would put a swatch on your hand and blend with a brush, you know, work it into the bristles there first before applying. Overall, I have to say, I think these are a really nice blush. They give a much more elevated finish to the skin than you might expect from the price point. And I think that they feel very nice. They've got some nice shades here, but aside from the Berry Smitten, they do run a bit warm. There is a fourth shade here that I do not have that is going to be more of a warm terracotta orange shade. So I feel like overall their shades skew a bit warm. I'd love to see some lighter, cooler tones. I'd love to see some sort of like mauvey pink and so forth in here. So hopefully they will expand this range, but I think these are definitely worth trying. I'm really impressed with the formula on these. And now we just recently got back from vacation, and I will be sharing some information on that trip soon, but I do have the Sicily Cloud Blush in my packed bag, which I have not brought upstairs yet. So I do want to swatch the Bobbi Brown. This is Soft Plum in the new Velvet Matte, and you can see these are going to be more of a moussey product, but I wanted to kind of show you what these look like on the skin and when you blend them out. You can see this soft plum shade is very similar to the Berry Smitten from Soshi, but it's going to be warmer. It's almost like mixing Rosy Rest and Berry Smitten together. But you can see that the actual finished product, the Bobbi Brown, is perhaps a little bit lighter when you shear that out compared to the Berry Smitten shade, but you can see that the finish is very similar. I would say that the Soshi is slightly more matte, more similar to the Sicily, whereas there's a little bit more luminosity with the Bobbi Brown, but it's very slight. I'd say they're pretty comparable. So thank you again to Soshi for sending these. One more time, we have Rosy Rest, Speak Easy, and Berry Smitten. Let's go ahead and move on to the Danessa Myricks Colorfix Stix. So let me first take a look at the packaging here. So you can see this is essentially two sticks together and they wobble, and that's because you can actually take these apart. This is their magnetic freedom system, and this is where you actually find the color information. So you have to pull it apart. So this is going to be part of Duo 8, and this is the Meteorite shade. Over here we have part of Duo 8, and this is the Draco shade. So you can mix and match your sticks, which I think is really nice. Perhaps, you know, you want to take one side of one and the other side of another, or maybe two metallics, two foils, and so forth. So I think that's actually really, really great. What I love about the packaging is this little clear cover here. You want to keep these because this will help keep your product from drying out, and they definitely click close very securely. So on each one of the sticks, we have one side that's metallic and one side that's foil. So this is going to be a bit more of a chunkier glitter product. And when you layer these two together, you get not necessarily always a duochrome effect. You know, sometimes it's not, there's not quite as much of a holographic finish, but sometimes with certain shades you're going to see more of that, and that's actually what happened with the eyes today. This is actually the one that I have on my eyes right now. So when you layer these two together, they really transform the shades there. So our metallic side is going to be very, it's going to be more of that smooth finish, finely milled product. All right, so let's start with the first side here, and you can see here that we've got this nice smooth metallic stick, and they blend out nicely, but they dry quickly. So you don't have a lot of time to work with these if you want to kind of shear it out or smudge it out. So just something to know, if you are trying to smudge these out, you need to work fast. Definitely do one eye at a time. And I think it works better with a brush that's a little bit more dense or a fingertip, just because you need to be able to move that product quickly. Again, you want to save the little cap before moving on. That was our metallic side. And then over on our foil side, you can see that this is going to be a bit more of a shimmery shade here. And some of these can be a little bit chunky, or well, they all are, but sometimes you'll get a swatch where you get like kind of a larger portion, like a flake. So you can get a bit of a chunkier look with that, but just something to note. So I just want to show you here, actually layering these together. You just go ahead and put a little bit of this over that one. You can see what it looks like when you layer the two together versus separately. And again, this is the color combination that's on my eyes right now. So this one here is going to be Duo 5, which is Cassiopeia and Astra. I have to say, the Danessa Myricks website has 2 additional shades that are not available at Sephora, which is where I order mine. For me, every time I order from Danessa Myricks, the shipping takes forever, like weeks. So I ordered from Sephora, and 2 of the shades I really wanted, they didn't have. So this one here is going to be Duo number 5. And you can see we've got more of these coppery shades here, but they're not going to be a super orange copper. I would say that they're a light shimmery copper, and that's them paired together. This first one, again, Duo 1, this is going to be more of a grayish shade. I know that they call it Mystic Taupe, and I would say it's going to be more of a grayer taupe. And then we have kind of this like warmer pink champagne shade, whereas here we're going to have more of a soft copper and more of a lighter ivory copper hue. Now we're on Duo 6, which is Celeste and Nova. And this is a beautiful set of light neutrals here. You can see we have more of a soft brown. And this is going to be neutral, but when you blend it out, you get a little bit more warmth, but it's still like in that neutral end of the spectrum. And then we have Nova here, which is going to be a really pretty champagne. Again, you can see a little bit of warmth here. It is going to be more neutral though than that in Duo 5. And again, if we top it, there you go. So we've got 1, 5, and 6 so far. Now Duo 7, we have Magic Hour and Aurora Radiance. And this is going to be the warmest stick out of the ones I picked up. It's actually a bit warmer than I thought it was going to be. Now I do want to note, I have a little bit of, when I'm turning this one, I have a point where mine gets stuck and I just need to apply a little bit more force. So just something to note there in case you get one like that. It can still open. You just have to push it a little bit more. But you can see this is going to be more of an orange with copper in it, but it's that bright orange, that bright copper in it. So that there is shade Magic Hour. And then for our foil here, we have, again, more of a copper. This one has a little bit more pink in it though. And when you pair them, you just get a really intense copper look. I feel like these 2 shades personally are a bit too similar to be in the same stick. I feel like it would have been better to have them in 2 separate sticks personally. It kind of complement some other shades. Or perhaps make this foil a little bit more pink. And then for Duo 8, we have Draco and Meteorite. This is my favorite. The other 2 that I don't have that are on the Danessa Myricks site, which are 9 and 10, we have a really pretty like blue purple shade. And then there's also a green that looks like it has a little bit of blue in it. So I might end up picking those up at some point. So this is Draco, and you can see when you blend out this, it's like a blue steel at first, but when you can blend that out, okay, when I was spreading that out, I had a little contamination on my finger. So let's go ahead and redo that. You can see how it looks softer and more gray when you blend that out, where it looks more blue when it's piled on. And then our foil shade here is going to be a really pretty lilac shade. And let's put that one here and look at that. But you can see what I mean about how you can sometimes get these flakes. They will smooth out. You can see you can smooth it out, or you can just kind of remove the flake there. But this is a really pretty kind of ultraviolet shade. And when you layer them, it makes it more of a blue purple. So these are the 6 I purchased. We have 1, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's take a look at these on the eyes. So the Danessa Myricks Colorfix Stix retail for $38 US. As I mentioned, the Sephora website and other retailers, they have the first 8 shades, but shades 9 and 10 are exclusive to the Danessa Myricks website. If you're looking for written color descriptions, the Danessa Myricks website will provide color descriptions for each of the shades in the sticks. And these are described as a multi-use pearl pigment stick with a refreshing, cooling sensation, featuring our magnetic mix and match freedom system. Each duo has 2 sticks at 0.106 ounces or 3 grams. These are made in China with a 6-month shelf life. According to Danessa Myricks, it says featuring magnetic customizable packaging, these innovative pigment sticks offer an effortless glide-on application with a refreshing cooling sensation to awaken eyes, cheeks, and lips. Whether you're creating a quick one-swipe look or going for bold, artistic effects, this versatile formula has you covered. So these are going to be safe for eyes, face, and cheeks. I'm only planning on using these on the eyes, although I think maybe once in a while a foil on the lips would be a stunning addition. Now, as I mentioned, these go on very smoothly. They do have a little bit of that cooling sensation as, you know, whatever liquid or moisture is in there is evaporating and the product sets. And as I mentioned, that's actually a short time period. So these set pretty quickly. I actually think they set a little bit faster than the Colorfix tubes, which I feel like I have a little bit more playtime with those. And perhaps that's because that is a liquid product that, you know, has more moisture in it. So it takes a little bit longer to evaporate. The sticks, you know, they definitely have that moisture in there, but it's going to be a lesser concentration. So I feel like they do set a little bit faster, but I have to say I'm super impressed with the performance of these. They last all day without creasing. I don't need a primer. You can use these as a base. You can use them on their own. You can pair them with other things. I think they are fantastic. So these are a really nice product. The first time I used them, I was a little torn on my thoughts. It's like, are these really that great? I thought the Colorfix tubes were better, but the more I use these, the more I like them. And I think I'm probably going to end up picking up the other 2 shades that I like on the Danessa Myricks website because I love the packaging of these, how you can mix and match. I love the colors. I do have to say, you know, the 1-7 looks, it's warmer than it looks in the photos. So it actually looks completely different than the photos online, in my opinion. So, you know, you kind of have to look around for swatches. But overall, I think these are fantastic. And I just really love how they're holding up. They're becoming like a go-to for the summertime for me because they hold up so well when I'm outside all day. My kids have been swimming basically all day, every day, and it's hot and humid, and every time I try to go swimming, I burn. So I've been trying to stay in the shade instead, and you know, sometimes the makeup just doesn't necessarily always hold up for a full day. These do, and I'm really impressed. I think Danessa Myricks is on a roll, you know, with her recent Pastel Dream palette, and these, I'm really loving these. So I think she's got some of the most innovative formulas and so forth on the market, some of the best packaging. And these sticks, you know, the metallic side is going to remind you more of things like the Bobbi Brown or the Laura Mercier sticks. However, we do have more of that cooling sensation. They'll set a little bit faster, but the finish on those is more similar to the shimmery versions of those sticks. It's the foils here that are a little bit different, that intense sparkle, that like larger the larger shimmer to it. And again, you can either shear those out, make them a little bit smaller, or you can go for a chunkier effect when you layer that on a little bit more thickly. So I think we've got a lot of versatility there. I have to say, I'm really loving these. So one more time, let's take a look at the swatches, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the Sarah Creole lip balm. So here's our first duo. This is duo number 1. And I mean, you can see they don't budge. They completely stay put. I do get a little bit of shimmer on there, not too much. It actually stays put super well. And then, so this is Duo 1. This is one of my favorites. We've also got Duo 5. I love this. For me, this is a great warm tone option. And then we have 6, which is another favorite of mine. Again, this is going to be a great neutral option. 7 is a bit warmer than I was anticipating. I'm probably going to split this one up, but I haven't decided how yet. And then 8 is my personal favorite. I love this, and pairing these together is amazing. So actually my last video, well, the one where I went over my June favorites and fails, this is what I was wearing, was this combination, and it's just a stunning look in my opinion. So let's go ahead and move on to the Sarah Creole. All right, so I ordered 3 of the new Sarah Creole No Further Questions glosses. And before we actually look at the swatches, I want to show you here the packaging. This shade here is called Calm Down, and this is going to be a soft, slightly warm pink here. And you can see that there is no shimmer in this whatsoever. And then we have this one, which is called Deal With It. This one's my favorite that I picked up. And although you don't really see shimmer on the lips, if you look in the tube, and that's why I'm trying to get this up close, you can see there's a very tiny bit of micro shimmer in there. There's almost like a tiny bit of like a blue micro glitter in there. However, it's not a shimmer shade. These are the shimmer shades here. Well, this one is, and this one is called My Pleasure. And this is what I have on my lips right now. So let's swatch these, and then we'll take a look at these on the lips. So this one here is Calm Down, and you can see that the applicator here has a great bendability to it, and it's really easy and flexible to use. And you'll notice that during the lip swatches. So Calm Down is kind of a soft, warm pink. Deal With It is going to be a cool tone pink. And this one's more of a medium depth. Calm Down is going to be a little bit lighter when you shear that out. And yeah, I just love this. But as I mentioned, you don't really see the shimmer in there, but there is a tiny bit. And then this one here is My Pleasure, which is one of the shimmer shades that didn't swatch super well. And you can see this is going to be a brown nude. And we've got a bit of pink shimmer in here. And I think it's a really pretty shade. So let's take a look at these on the lips. The Sarah Creole No Further Questions High Glide Peptide Lip Glosses retail for $40 US. There are 6 shades, and these have 6 milliliters of product. They're made in Italy. I don't see a suggested shelf life here. These are described as having unapologetic shine, high glide, decadent gloss. It's a high shine peptide infused cushioning gloss that offers multi-dimensional color with an immediate 45% increase in lip volume and 4+ hours of hydration. Bonus, it improves lips' baseline hydration and smoothness over time. No tackiness, no tingle, just lasting softness and comfort. Now, I do have to say, I do feel like my lips look more plump wearing these. I do not feel any sort of tingling sensation. I don't smell anything like mint or cinnamon to it. So although it seems to provide a bit of a plumping effect to it, it's not like a traditional lip plumper. It says there are peptides included to support the natural collagen process to enhance firmness and elasticity, reducing the appearance of lip lines and wrinkles for smoother, fuller looking lips. And personally, the Sarah Creole lip balms are, their clear lip balm is my favorite. I buy them in multiples all the time. That is my favorite lip balm. I love the tinted ones as well. I wear them very often. But, I do notice that these lip balms do help heal my lips. They help repair, they put them in better shape. And I feel like these glosses share some of those same features. My lips do look better with the glosses. I really notice them smoothing like the lines and so forth. And I think they're really nice. So they honestly feel just like a regular, lip oil, lip gloss kind of combo. There's nothing different about the texture. There's no tackiness. It's smooth. It feels like a traditional gloss, but I do think that they offer things on my lips. They provide a little bit more moisture and hydration and repair than what I get from a traditional lip gloss. So this really is like your basic lip gloss in texture and feeling, but it has benefits. I do want to note that I smell absolutely nothing when I sniff these lip glosses. I don't smell anything. I don't taste anything. And I don't see any fragrance listed in the ingredients. So I think that's a really great feature. And I think it's actually something that should be highlighted with these glosses. I think they're really nice. So one more time, let's take a look at the shades that I picked up. We have Calm Down, which is going to be a soft warm pink. Deal With It, which is going to be a cooler tone pink, more of a medium level of pigment. And then we have My Pleasure, which is going to be a shimmery nude brown. And I really love all three of these, but my favorite is definitely the Deal With It. It is a great shade. I've been wearing that one the most. So I hope this has been helpful. Let's go ahead and just do a quick summary of everything we looked at today. We started off with the Shantakai Future Skin Foundation, and I have to say, on the skin, I think this one looks and performs better than the previous version. I still don't necessarily love the fact that there is a retinol alternative in here, because I don't mind like moisturizing skincare ingredients in there, but honestly, anything reparative or corrective, I'd rather just have my skincare deal with that rather than taking the risk of mixing something with my skincare that either might perhaps, not react properly, or perhaps gives me a little bit too much of something. So I'd rather that not be in there. But that being said, I think the formula is better than the previous one. I really like the way that it looks and performs on my skin. So I think it's a really nice one. And thank you to Shantakai for gifting those to me. And the brush, as I mentioned, I think is a nice brush. Do I think you need to run out and get it? No, I don't think you do. It's similar to some other brushes. So if you have something like it in your collection, I think that works well. But in general, for the foundation, if you want to use a brush, I do like more of those softer dome brushes, something like the ones I featured, or the Koh Gen Do buff brush. Those are all like the same shape and density that I think would perform well with this foundation. And then we took a look at the Soshi blushes. And I think these are really great. I think the performance, the finish of these is on par with the Sisley Cloud or the Bobbi Brown Velvet Mattes that recently came out. And these are going to have a more inexpensive price point. We do have refillable packaging, although I haven't seen refills yet. And I think it's a beautiful product. I do hope that they expand to include some cooler tone shades in their lineup. We do have one that's cool, but I'd love to see some lighter cool tone shades. So overall, fantastic. Thank you to Soshi for gifting those to me. And they're definitely something I pick up on my own as well. And then we took a look at the Danessa Myricks Colorfix Stix, and I love them. So, I mean, it's like sparkle heaven, and they stay put. The performance on these is incredible. The packaging is well thought out and designed. Super happy with these, so I'm probably going to pick up shades 9 and 10. So these are awesome. The Creale lip glosses, as I mentioned, I really like these. They feel like a normal basic lip gloss, but they do seem to actually give me some like repair and benefits to my lips. And, my lips feel better after wearing these for a day than they would with a regular gloss. So I just feel like they've got some nice benefits to them with the ingredients. I love the fact that there's no taste or smell. So I think these are great. I'd love to see more shades. Again, my favorite here is Deal With It, the one in the middle. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. I will see you very soon, and I hope you have a wonderful day.